me, I was born back home, and I feel like if I was born in America, I wouldn't have turned out the way I am. Like, I have a lot more respect for elders, for people. Like, you're raised by family. Like, here, being born in America, like, it's just you and your parents. And if your parents are not around, like, it's the streets that are raising you, or your school that's raising you. And I feel like being born back home, like, the environment is more stable, because if your parents are not home, your auntie's instilling the same values that your parents would instill. Instead of like, oh, when you leave the house, there's this whole different set of rules, there's this whole different language that you speak. Like, back home is more consistency. Like, you're being raised by a village, you have more respect, and like, you don't have as many excuses for failure. Or
some of the smartest people I've ever met are born and raised in Africa. But however, I would say that I don't think that cramming and like being able to perform well on tests is determinant of your intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, in fact, I met so many people that were able to memorize and regurgitate, but in terms of being able to break that down for themselves, they weren't able to. And so in a sense, I think intelligence is being able to take something and break it down, and being able to either make it simple for other people or just be able to put some sort of spin onto it. But a lot of the times, our education systems in Ghana especially require that you take in and spit out. Exactly. There's no room for you to think or reprocess. I would disagree.
In America, you can ask a kid, oh, what's 2,000 by 246 divided by this? And I feel like an African child will be able to do that on paper. But kids here are so lenient on calculators. You can use a calculator on your test. They don't have that luxury there. So when it comes to certain subjects, I do feel as though they learn certain things.
Years back home.
Absolutely.
Because I want them to be, like, I want them to have that, like, one, be in tune with their culture. Two, understand where they come from. That family is important. Like, have those basic skills. Because I feel like if they're born here and raised here in their early years, it's gonna be hard to now teach them. Because those, like, as soon as they step out the house, it's conflicting. Like, whatever they're seeing, the things that they're being exposed to is different.
Something. Like, I feel like
I think it's crazy up till today that people still believe that in Africa people have lions as pet, live in trees, walk around barefooted. There's huts, all of that. Whereas like, if we want to refer to like parts of Africa, there's a lot of countries in Africa where they are like well developed. We have buildings, house establishments, everything, businesses. So I feel like when you want to stay in that mentality where you think Africa is just stagnant continent, I feel like it's ignorant.
You have working Wi-Fi that won't quit on you when you Google what is happening outside of America if you want it. A lot of people don't have those opportunities back home, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that like, oh, for either or, like you're just seeing one thing. You can, but in the States or just whatever part of the West that you want to be in, you have the opportunity, if you wanted, to look outside of your bubble, as opposed to people that are down there that really don't have that chance. I think when we're saying that life is better in America than it is in Africa, it's very specific, right? It's not to say that you enjoy life more here or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, it's specifically like you don't have the same concerns as a lot of people in developing countries or continents. Like, that's just what the truth is. Like, in America, you're not worried about food. You're not worried about where you're gonna live. There are just so many different systems within our government that allow you to not think of that and alleviates you so that you can sit here and worry about, okay, but I'm not in tune with my culture. I don't know my uncle, my auntie. Like, your concerns are just different. It's not necessarily just about one life is better than other. We just have access to more and privileges that most don't.
Yeah. America taught me a lot of things, and I could have gone a lot of different ways, but I still remember
here and raising a child here is different.
Go to school and then finish, and then you will not get a job. That's why the only people popping in Africa are the scammers, the hoes, and the politician. Because that's the only way you can survive.
About family structure being important to you and being connected to, because you're not worried about the same things they're there. People in Africa are sitting there laughing at the Americans talking about, oh, I wish I was born there because I want to be close to my family, because they're like, yo, you eating though.
Yes.
You eating, you working, you got clothes, and willing to shell out some money to help you out.
But
Yes.
that's
So,
the reason why
this is my point. But my point is that
you do not eat. If you don't work, you can't feed your children. That's why they get that structure.
But
That's
it's
why
not
they have that
jobs. We're
work
talking
ethic.
about if you do.
Even based on that, like at the end of the day, even if you yourself don't have the money to buy food, there's somebody that you can go to. There's there's a family member that you can go to. They be like, oh, did you eat today?
Me too.
I think it's a matter of what you value, because at this point, like y'all don't think about healthcare and all this kind of stuff, but people were like, yo, I just need money to get from point A to point B, and we're talking about money that's the equivalent of $1. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, it's like, it's a matter of, it's not like one is better than the others.